Struggling with art at times is simply a natural part of being an artist, so let's go through my weekly doodles together and just kind of talk about it. Hi, hey, hello. If you're new here, my name is Rain. If you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you stopping on by to my little corner of the internet. And if you feel like drawing along with me throughout the course of this video, feel free to tell me about it in the comments or DM me if you want to share it with me. I always love to see it. And I suppose with all of that being said, let's just get into the video and the art. Starting off with another Jinx sketch, I really want to do Jinx justice in my art style, and I've been having a very hard time actually figuring out what that means for me, and it's been kind of plaguing me, kind of haunting me a little bit throughout the past couple of weeks. I do really like the sketch I did, I believe, 2 videos ago, and I'm happy with it, but I really want her to exist in my true art style and as a finished piece one of these days. But I just feel like I've been having a really hard time capturing her the way that I want to, and so I've decided to leave my sketchbook and start working on some Jinx sketches on separate pieces of paper where I can just kind of detach it from my other work and the sketchbook environment and see if that kind of changes my perspective on the matter and gives me a kind of new light on her character design and feel it through. However, I keep finding that I have been having a bit of an inclination towards sharper, more cartoony eye shapes recently, and because of that, I feel like I'm not capturing Jinx's eyes particularly well, and it's been kind of creating this awkward situation where I just feel like I'm not capturing her essence correctly, but it's largely an art style issue, and I haven't really figured out how to resolve it yet. I know technically I should just kind of draw her eyes differently, but I've been really trying to embrace my natural kind of instinct as an artist recently and ignoring my own expectations for myself to see how my art style is actually kind of naturally developing. One of my personal kind of opinions is that while you should utilize references and they are important to creating good work the majority of the time, the way that you draw without a reference and the way you naturally put material to paper is a better insight into your actual artistic desires and your style. So I like to check in with myself every once in a while and do multiple sketches and multiple drawings without any sort of reference in front of me so that I can kind of see how my art style is going and see how I feel like drawing at that time, and then kind of interpret what my art style is kind of developing into. And then I utilize that information to see if I have any particular weaknesses or things that I really need to work on to figure out how to embrace that style a little bit further. And so I just feel like the eyes that I've been drawn to recently, drawn to drawing, have not really captured Jinx correctly, nor has the face shape. I've generally always had a more angular kind of inclination with face shapes, but I've been finding that because Jinx has such a round face and such soft cheeks, I'm not really capturing her the way that I want to, and I forget it when I'm actually doing the sketches. I'm looking at it and I can't quite tell what is wrong. And so that's why I only did one Jinx sketch, and I plan to step away and then kind of revisit the paper and work on more. And that's because of this process. It's the kind of the deliberate just what is not quite speaking to me about this sketch now that I've stepped away from the piece and I've had some time to think about it. And then I'm going to redraw it or something kind of similar and try and take these self-critiques into consideration and draw a sketch that feels a little bit more capturing of Jinx's personality and getting kind of what I want out of the sketch so that I can turn it into a proper illustration hopefully soon. However, I'm not entirely sure that I like the pose either. It's just kind of a 50-50 on how I'm feeling about it any given day. I feel like one thing that I've been struggling with in my art recently is I want more dynamic posing. However, I really don't like drawing dynamic posing. I like the fluid motion of the hair, but I don't want to move the body and contort it into an action pose particularly, you know? And so I really need to work on creating that sense of movement in the body and not just relying on the hair and the way I fold the clothing to emulate that. So what my goal is going to be for when I actually convert this into a proper illustration is to push Jinx's body a little bit more back in the torso region. I'm not sure about the head yet, but to push the torso region back more and to move the hips forward so it kind of looks like she's dashing backwards. And I think that will fix the issue. However, I have stepped away from this piece for some time, so I'm not entirely sure how it'll turn out, and we'll have to revisit it when it's either being converted into a proper illustration or otherwise that. The next kind of doodle that I started working on this week was, I did do some sketches of my OC Loki. However, it mostly was me trying to figure out this illustration that I want to do of a hot microwave girl. And this piece is going to be kind of the figurehead of this video because this piece has been plaguing me all week and I am super struggling with it. I am having the hardest time creating a good box head character. I used to have a TV head OC. She had blue kind of collarbone length wavy hair and I believe an orange turtleneck with an overall, I think, was her design. And I was so proud of her, and I have never made a decent TV head, box head character since. I mean, my 3D modeling kind of main project was a TV head character, and I just, it's just been kind of a plague for me. Like, I have not been able to recapture any sort of charm, and I think it's largely because I actually have, like, an artistic awareness now, which sounds kind of odd, but when I think about it, I'm aware of reality, and I'm trying to capture those real elements, and I'm not allowing myself to kind of exist in creative, blissful ignorance. And the issue with that is I keep on thinking about the perspective of the TV head / microwave head, and it's not allowing me to just kind of have creative fun and push the boundaries because I keep thinking the perspective's off. Why is the perspective wrong? Why am I not capturing this feeling the way I want to? Why does it look so funky? So I have been thumbnailing and trying to get this illustration to work for me for hours. I have 2 flop sketches and a mediocre sketch, and I am just not making it work. I am determined to make an attractive microwave wifey, but I am just having the hardest time achieving it. And it's kind of driving me bonkers, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm losing it over this microwave girl. It's, like, plaguing me. And I think a part of that is because I don't really draw robo-girls in any capacity ever. I've really considered drawing, like, attractive plane-inspired girls before, and I really want to get into those more techno, mechy kind of vibed character designs, and I think it's just really not for me. It's something I crave and desire to do, but I don't think that I have the, like, artistic understanding necessary to actually achieve it. And I'm not entirely sure what to do with that information. Like, do I practice drawing planes and try and draw, like, technology to become able to do this and, like, achieve this goal of mine? Or do I just kind of follow my instincts in their more natural direction and kind of dismiss these ideas that I have that don't come to me from an artistic standpoint more naturally? Usually I'm all for, like, practicing until you can, like, do the illustrations you want to. However, in this situation, I don't even know if I want to or if it's just an idea that I really like. And it's kind of haunting me. It really is. Because I really want to just draw like plant girlies and, Loki, uh, Eris, my OCs. And do I need to draw a microwave wife? Do I actually need to do it? I'm not sure. I really don't know, but I really want to try. And I think that that is kind of the deciding factor for me. I will not know if this is something that I need to work and improve upon and I actually care about doing until I have made a piece and decided if I enjoyed that process and enjoyed the suffering enough to then continue forcing myself to kind of advance in that capacity. So it has been haunting me. I do end up trying to do an illustration, not coloring it, but getting the sketch down later in the video, but it's just been a hard time. So I personally want to know if you guys are interested in seeing a microwave wife, regardless of how good she turns out, because I am struggling, but I am committed and I am a tenacious individual. So if y'all are interested in seeing the microwave wife, let me know. I can't promise she'll be good, but I promise that I will try. And you'll see the third sketch I did at the end of the video when I actually work on it, because this is formatted in the order of the doodles I've done throughout the week. So we'll see. We'll see how y'all feel about it. But I do think I have a good couple more renditions before I'm comfortable actually trying to render it. So we'll see where I go with it. I did eventually decide that I wanted to kind of sketch out a concept for Gaia, for the like Mother Earth / the Earth from Greek myth. I'm not really happy with it, but it is just a preliminary idea. It's very simple, but just kind of thinking through how I would approach embodying the earth and kind of the natural world in one illustration is something that I want to work on, because I think it's going to be very busy and I'm going to have a really hard time achieving it. But it is very much kind of like the pinnacle of everything that I stand for as an artist in terms of most of my original character design. While I do have a lot of semi-normal characters, I do have god characters. Most of my characters are gods or associated with gods very strongly, and then plant zombies and kind of mushroom-inspired girlies are very strongly a focus for me, right? And so, to me, it seems kind of like a pinnacle that I need to try and strive for. Like this is the embodiment of so much of what I stand for. It almost is weird that I don't try and encapsulate the goddess of the earth in some capacity and try and figure out what my interpretation would be if I were to put it down. And I don't really know how long it'll take me to actually achieve this concept, but I'm thinking I want to do a like lower hip up, like almost showing the pubic area, not quite. Large for me, 9x11, 9x12 illustration of the character. And I'm thinking a black background so that I can really utilize kind of neon fluorescent colors to achieve the overall color schematic I want. So while the concept is very underdeveloped as it stands, I'm thinking the goal will be only one visible eyeball for the humanity, and because it's like a motif that I utilize a lot in my plant zombies, because it does kind of encapsulate this idea for me of the nature coming from within and taking over the human form. It just feels very appropriate to continue that motif in my work. Ocean hair, but not all the way ocean hair. I'm thinking a earthy brown or green color that then fades into wave textures or waterfalls at the bottom. Very fluid, kind of liquidy kind of appeal to it. And then a kind of mossy green and brown splotched skin color. I'm thinking vitiligo. I think that's what it's called, the condition where there is more and less melanin in like spots throughout the skin. A kind of vitiligo vibe to the skin with the green and brown to kind of capture those earthy kind of grass and dirt kind of feeling, the soil, the nutrients of life, and then plants sprouting throughout. I want to have at least one mountain range kind of vibe to it, like a forest treed mountain range, and have that kind of be probably the breast region. It just seems like the most natural valley, or having it kind of cascade up the side of the head and follow along the hair. I'm not sure about that yet. It's not well captured in the sketch that I did, and the sketch didn't stay on screen for very long. And then I'm thinking of having a kind of eczema feeling for the deserts. Just dry patches of skin that have that kind of sandy texture. And I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve that texture appealingly, but I definitely want to try. And then I'm 50-50 on if I'm going to do this digitally or traditionally. Maybe I'm 75-25. Well, I love traditional art much more, and it is a more natural process for me recently. I think I want to do this digitally because I'm going to need some textures to help me kind of encapsulate the feeling, and it's going to be a lot harder to do with paint pen. And I want this process to have as little friction as possible for me so that I can accomplish it and not give up. Then additionally, I also just have been feeling very inclined to try more digital art again recently, and creating a black background is a lot easier digitally. I won't have to go around the character, and then I also won't have to utilize my paint pens on a black background otherwise. Like a background first is a lot easier for me personally. However, my paint pens have been much less opaque recently, and they've been separating a lot, and I just know is going to be a very tedious and frustrating process that I don't really want to deal with, because I usually use a marker base, but I can't do that if I have a black background. Also, it'll help me make a neon kind of feeling to it, and a very vibrant kind of lust for life feeling, and I can picture it, and I'm much more excited about the digital prospect, I think. So I'm probably 75-25. Maybe I'll do the line art traditionally and then scan it the way I did with my Moth-Bitten Library literature ablaze piece for Eris a couple years back. Because I really do like doing my line art traditionally over digitally. I just find it more fun. And then I have like a scannable coloring page that I can color in the future if I want. And I really like that. So I'm kind of 50-50. 25-75, I'm really not sure. Somewhere in that range, not very good with percents anymore in the summer, so I'm not thinking about math as much. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure, but I really want to do Gaia. And Gaia, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I've never Googled it. I read through all of the Percy Jackson series when I was a youngin' without Googling how to pronounce a single name. So however I thought they were pronounced as a kid is how I've maintained the pronunciation personally. And so kid me has decided the pronunciation of all Greek characters, less Norse characters, because Magnus Chase. Oh gosh, I haven't read the Norse ones since they came out. Those came out when I was older, so I had a little bit more like awareness on how to pronounce things, but I read Percy Jackson when I was a super youngin', so you can roast me if you want, but I'll probably never get indoctrinated in the correct direction. But let's talk about the other sketches. I did talk about Gaia for basically the entirety of the time I was working on the sketch of Loki, my OC, and that is largely because I don't have a lot of thoughts on the sketch, to be honest. I think that I didn't capture him the way that I usually would like to, and I'm not entirely sure what it is, because I like this a lot, but he's looking a little bit too much like the way I like to sketch Crollo from Hunter x Hunter, my first anime husband, basically. And so I'm just kind of 50-50 on the topic. Like, 50-50 is coming up a lot today. I'm clearly just too indecisive for my own good this week. But yeah, they look just a little bit too masculine with the forehead definition. So I was just kind of like, it's an okay sketch, but I'm not really in love with it. So, I just don't have a lot of feelings, so there's not a lot to talk about. And then I go back to my microwave girly crisis. And I think a part of what I need to do is, it's been a while since I've done gesture drawings focused on thicker bodies, and I think I need to just redo that again since it's been a really long time and my art style has changed a touch, because I am just having the hardest time drawing a big bountiful beauty with a box head. And I'm starting to think that maybe it's the fact that I'm drawing the microwave too small in reference to the body, but also I'm not sure. But like, character design wise, it just makes sense, right? The microwave is a source of convenient food heating acquisition. And it just makes sense that a microwave wife would have a like bountiful, hefty kind of body to her. Because like, think about it. Convenient food is generally not like the healthiest food for you. So you're more likely to be on the thicker end than if you eat like purely home-cooked meals. Now, let's be clear. I do not believe that like a bit of pudge and a bit of like squishy love to you is a sign of a lack of health. There are health conditions that can make you like a bit thicker, despite your diet, right? Like, but however, kind of like furthermore, generally we associate the microwave with unhealthy food, and generally unhealthy food will lead to a bit more of a thicker body a little bit quicker, or a lot quicker, I don't know. I'm a rather tiny person, and so I don't really eat much of anything due to health reasons. And so I'm not the most like equipped for the topic of conversation. However, I know that we're generally leaning unhealthier, thicker kind of microwave meals. You're more likely. So that makes sense. But also, like, a microwave is a source of heat, right? Like, we're spinning around and around, sending little electron thingies and stimulating the water molecules and making our food go heat, right? And so we want a person who has some thickum to them, because they're just going to produce a hell of a lot more body heat, right? Like, you're a warm, squishy, loving pudge woman, and it just works. You know what I mean? And so I'm not backing down on microwave wives being like bountiful bodily wise. Like, it makes so much sense to me, and I can't see the alternative path. But I also am really struggling, and I don't know if I'm struggling with the body to microwave ratio or what. Just something is not working for me. Maybe it's the outfit, but I just like cannot think of what a microwave wears. Like, it surely is not an apron, because like we're not cooking, you know? Like, we're not like making a home cooked meal, so like the apron is kind of impractical. Like, you're heating something up, but is it kind of like retro-y? Like, and I'm going for a more retro microwave vibe just because they're a little bit more standardized in appearance than modern microwaves, and so it makes the process less stressful for me. But also they're like, I found a lot more rounded microwaves looking at retro microwaves, and I don't want a perfect rectangle. I want a bit of round to it, you know? It's just more fun, and they have the dials more commonly, and they're cute, and then I don't have to draw a number pad screen either, which I also appreciate, because I don't want to have to do the number pad screen in perspective. But I feel like a microwave likes to show off, you know? I feel like a microwave wants to, like, show some skin, and I've just been very, like, I'm struggling with the microwave. Like, actual kind of like clothing. I'm having a hard time picturing it, so I have a lot of drafting to do to figure that out, but that's just is what it is for now. I haven't come to a satisfactory conclusion yet. I did then spend a bit of time sketching up a kind of like nymph pose that I want to do, kind of just a reclined lounging lady, and honestly I didn't really get to like sketch it as much as I wanted to. I was kind of hoping to have a lot more kind of space, and Loki just kind of got in the way at the end of the day. Like, I couldn't like do that other hip, which is the nicer hip. Like, the hip closer to the ground has like more of the weight leaning towards it, which is way more appealing looking to me. And then I didn't have I didn't have space for the groin region because of the TV sketch, and I didn't really want to overlap the sketches on this page too much if they were possible future ideas. So we kind of just stuck with the overall vibe, the feeling of just like I'll have to redraw this nymph sometime, but I haven't drawn a lot of long-haired girlies because I don't like drawing long hair, and I also don't have long hair, so I don't have a lot of convenient references for long hair. So it's just kind of I'm gonna have to redraw her. Oh no, what a crisis. I have to draw more attractive women. Whoa, what am I gonna do? Right? And then I have a pose for a plant zombie that I really want to do. So I started just kind of like getting a little bit more familiar with the kind of body positioning and the way it arched. I have like the reference in front of me for this one. And honestly, huge struggle. I think I need to be a lot looser with my sketch. Like, there's a stiffness to me that was making the sketch less kind of fluid. And I've found that that's been a huge issue with me recently when utilizing a reference. I kind of just get a little bit too stiff and focused on actual, like, proportionate anatomy, which should be the opposite issue. But because I have a way that I like the body to look, and I have a stylized approach to the human form and the way I proportion it, I get really confused and like icked by my own art when I like try and copy proportions more perfectly. And I find that I do that a lot when referencing and doing a like sketch from a physical reference. And I've talked about it very briefly on my channel before, I think, in my video of like a week of gesture drawings and anatomy practice, but I'm very short, but my torso to leg ratio is rather disproportionate to the average kind of human body. Not severely, but like when you're as short as I am, you're not cut correctly, bro. Like, okay, I'm 5 foot. So my legs are kind of longer than the average kind of 7-8 head system would like place it. So I generally draw legs a lot longer and torsos a bit shorter, and then I also give people really big feet and hands because my feet and hands are disproportionately large to my body, but I also am very like attracted to a lanky figure. So then I take my 5 foot tall person proportions, but then like extrapolate it to somebody who's closer to like 5'7". So I generally draw people with shorter torsos, but longer legs and longer arms, because my arms are also long looking because my torso's short, right? And I was my first ever reference. And I think for a lot of people, they are their first ever reference because that is the body that they know the best and are the most familiar with, generally speaking. And so when I'm like looking at somebody and trying to like line them up correctly, my brain blanks really hard. And I think that the sketch looks stiff because I'm trying to like get down a proper human body. I guess I'm a proper human body, but like a conventionally attractive, beautiful, referenced body. And I'm like, but why the torso long? Huh? Why the butt look like this? And my brain just deactivates. Like, I just short circuit mentally. I'm like, legs not long enough. brain break. Like, that's the process that I go through. I really need to fix this habit. It is a plague upon my artistic development, I swear. I don't know what's wrong with me, man. My brain just malfunctions so frequently when I'm referencing a pose that has, like, not a lot to it, I guess. Like, the body's leaning back and there's a strong arch, but it's not like a heavily perspective image or anything like that. You know, it's very like we're standing looking at it at eye level kind of thing. So there's no perspective to like actually like hyper focus on achieving, and it just is like very obvious that the proportions aren't how I want them to be, and my brain breaks. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's just a mental malfunction of my own doing, unfortunately. Whoa, Rain, it took you 30 minutes to get to the actual topic because you were really happy with the earlier sketches, and now we're to the part where I'm visually just struggling with boxes? Whoa! TVs are hard? Wild, bro. That's basically the next chunk of, like, sketch struggles, but let's talk about the actual kind of, like, topic of why we're looking at random doodles and nothing finished this week. And that is that it is just a natural part of the artistic process and being an artist to struggle with art at times. And that, I think, comes down to two primary issues: motivation and inspiration. Motivation is your desire and your drive to actually do something. It is your push, your actual kind of craving / desire to complete a task. But inspiration is probably, in my opinion, for me at the very least, it is the more important aspect. I am more likely to struggle with inspiration over motivation. And that is because when I am inspired, I am generally already motivated. I want it, right? I need to do it. It's a driving force. But there's been very little in my life recently that has really just kind of hit me and made me feel like inspired to create something kind of new. I'm lacking the inspiration to actually kind of put the pen to paper and actually create something that I think is revolutionary for me as an artist, or particularly interesting or worth sharing with the world and documenting, right? And that's this weird issue because I'm motivated to create, but because I'm not inspired, I feel like nothing is correct. And when it comes to this, it really is just a matter of continuing to chase that motivation until the inspiration comes. And usually inspiration comes to me in the form of literature, music, film. The film as an animated film. I'm usually not a like real actor type person, but nothing is really just kind of drawing me right now. The video games that I've been wanting to play aren't out yet. I have like 5 games on my wish list that have no definitive release date. I've all achievemented Elden Ring Night Rain. I am tired of not getting Shifting Earth and just sitting through the entirely same map every single time. That is an insufferable map and I hate it and I am so tired of it and I keep getting it and I'm over it, right? Like, I'm just, the games that I have been playing just aren't kind of making me want to create. They're not giving me that spark that I really want and I really need right now. And I think that paired with the fact that I have all the time in the world to create because it's summer and I'm an MFA student, so I'm off work until August, makes it so much less motivating or inspiring. I don't have a full work day where I'm itching to create something and I'm hounding for the opportunity when the clock hits 6 and I get to create again. Instead, I'm kind of just, I have every opportunity to create. And I've talked about it a lot on my channel. My OCD is a very, very, very common topic of conversation because it very much impacts my habits and my creative process, right? But I don't have that structure of a schedule right now. And that's something that I always mess up in summer, is not maintaining and setting a new schedule up before my school year ends, work-wise, right? And so because I didn't have a schedule already prepared where I was forcing myself to adhere to something, I fell off. And now I'm sitting in this stasis where I have no kind of inspiration or structure in my life. And that really just is the downfall of me every time. I am not someone who strives from a lack of structure at all. I literally schedule my nap times and my brain breaks because I have chronic fatigue and I really need to rest. And I will schedule 5 to 15 minute powwows between students at work where I can, because I work from home, where I can lay down and I can turn my brain off. And I have alarms that tell me when I need to go to each appointment so that I can kind of maintain that structure and ensure that I don't actually pass out and miss work, right? But that is kind of a necessity for me to function, basically. It is just something I personally need, right? And I'm lacking that. And so I'm working on scheduling drawing times in the morning where I'm just working on doing studies and working on trying to improve certain things that I feel particularly weak in. I'm still working on my animal a month where I pick an animal every month and I work on it. Last month was dogs, and that was because my dog passed away. My stepdad's dog passed away, and I wanted to do a memorial piece for him. This month, I'm thinking about doing butterflies, but I have a crippling fear of caterpillars, and not butterflies, but they are still caterpillars with wings, so if I look at their body too long, I think I'll die. So, I might do moths because I like their color palettes more. They're more neutral, generally speaking. And I really want to do moth-inspired characters sometime, so I'm thinking this month my animal of the month will be moths, so I'm gonna maybe schedule some time every other day where I have to sit down for an hour and I just have to do a study or a warm-up, gestures, things like that, and then every other day as well, then a art lesson time where I sit and I consume kind of educational content on things that I feel like I'm lacking on artistically, portfolio development, perspective. I suck at perspective. I love drawing things that would need to be in perspective. I suck at actually making it look believable and creating that structure in my life again where then I can put in things to inspire me. I've had inspiration to do artistic projects that are unconventional for me, and my fear is that I don't know how to share it with you guys, and I don't know how long it'll take, and I don't know what will become of me in doing them. But there are some songs that have been really consuming me recently, and they kind of inspire very visceral emotions internally, and they kind of transport me to another world when listening to them. And I very much want to prop up a kind of flat canvas and just paint to the music and see what happens, but I'm terrified that what will come of it will be so different from what I actually generally crave to create that I will lose sight of the art that I love making, or maybe I'm more scared that I'll become an abstract painter, which is my worst fear. No hate to abstract painters, but it is so not my thing. I don't like it. I don't like looking at it, and I definitely don't want to become one. But what if that's what comes to me? What if I just create something abstract and non-visual, and then it becomes who I am? I'm terrified of this. I don't want it, but I want to see what comes from me while listening to the song. I also can't play the songs on repeat on YouTube. And so you guys would have to go find the songs separately to listen to them. And I don't want to create friction for enjoying my content and creating art with me. But at the same time, I feel like I can provide insight into the process, and I think it'll give insight into who I am if I really just psychoanalyze why I make the decisions I make while following just the music. And I've been lacking my flow state recently. It's been so hard to create and then just let the world slip away again like I'm so accustomed to, and this might be my way to rekindle it. But I'm very interested if you guys would be willing to sit through a video that's perhaps more unconventional in terms of my art usually, and to be confronted with what a song makes of me and what I make of a song and how it makes me feel. If you guys would be interested in that, please do let me know, because it is something that I'm a lot more nervous about and I'm not sure how I would capture it correctly and articulate it. So if it's something interesting that people want, I would be happy to open myself up to this new artistic adventure that I'm less confident in, I guess would be the way to articulate it. And maybe it'll be horrible. Maybe it'll be the worst art I ever make. It can't be. Okay, it can't be. Oh, wow. But maybe it'll be really bad, but that's also a part of art, and I'm not terrified of bad art. I think there's something inherently beautiful in art that we personally make that we do not like and are not proud of. And I'm just not sure how to approach this experience and this idea. But ultimately, I know that struggling with art is just a natural part of being an artist, but it is still an unpleasant and miserable time artistically to want to create but not have the inspiration to create, if that makes sense. I'm not entirely sure what I need to do to rekindle that inspiration per se, but I am actively seeking it out, and I will definitely let you guys know when I find that inspiration and how I found it, because I think as I become more aware of myself as an artist, when I do come to these low points, I need to be more aware of how I get out of them. I also probably should mention that while I do have depression, seasonal depression-wise, my worst season of the year is summer due to my health concerns. So I'm generally a lot more low energy, unmotivated, uninspired, and miserable during the summer because I lack kind of the ability to engage in things the way I usually would want to. I can't go on walks as often. I'm very heat sensitive. I have to take a lot more naps. I'm very low energy. And my migraines are substantially worse in kind of like the actual intensity of them. So I am generally a lot more low energy during the summer. So that also is probably a contributing factor and something that I won't be able to completely combat, but we'll see how it goes. We'll figure it out. And as always, I mean, I love creating art and it is an inherent part of my very existence. So I'm not going to stop creating. I'm just not going to be creating as many finished, cool looking pieces. I'm going to be exploring ideas and doing a lot more thumbnails during this time of the year probably. And then they will probably become much more fleshed out and finished pieces in the fall. Or I'll just find inspiration somewhere. Maybe I'll find a piece of media that just like, bam, just magical, like my life is lit. Maybe I need to go vintage shopping and look at microwaves. Maybe that'll solve my problems. I'm not sure. But it's okay to struggle artistically at times. It's okay to be uninspired, and it's okay to take a break from art and set it aside. It's not something that I have the ability to do personally because I feel like I'm missing part of myself without it, but it's a natural part of the process, and you're going to be okay, and you're going to get through it. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through it, but, you know, let's talk about more MicroWives, or MicroWives. MicroWives? I think I like MicroWives. So, just super quick before the outro, I want to talk about the most successful sketch of the MicroWive saga, and how I feel about it. I feel like a MicroWive, a microwave, a microwaifu has a lot of sass to them. I feel like they're very confident in themselves, and they are a creature of convenience, but they also like to show off a little bit. You know, they're flashy. And so I really want to do some sort of corset-y bust kind of thing. I really want a lot of their skin to be showing, and I want them to have a lot of oomph to them. However, I think that maybe I need to look into like where microwaves were invented and sort of look at the style kind of native to that. Because the more I try and do the kind of like strappy panty thing that I have going on, the more I think maybe we do bootylicious denim cutoff shorts. Denim cutoff shorts. And I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure. But I do like the busty top. I'm just thinking maybe a short with some fringe is a vibe, and I'm not sure yet. But maybe 2 hands on the hip. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I'm struggling with it. But I want to add a lot of bolts to the design at the end. So I'm providing a lot of extra lines. Yes, I'm a line lover, and I put lines all over the place and circles all over the place. But I have very intentionally placed the lines because I wanted to have the look of being like put together, right? Like the lines of where the metal is met and like helping it to like fit together, I guess. And then I want to put screws on either side, but I don't want to draw in all those little circles because they're going to get covered up when I render it anyway. So I'm not entirely sure about that one, but I'm liking it. And then I added all of these like effect rectangles because while it's not like TV static because it's not a TV, I feel like it's adjacent and it adds some pizzazz, and I didn't know what else to do to like make a background, so it's pizzazzing. We're pizzazzing it. While this is the best sketch, I still feel like the microwave part just is not fitting on the body correctly, and I'm not entirely sure what about it is going wrong for me. Because, you know what it might be, I'm sitting here and I'm really staring at it. What it might be is that the microwave doesn't look like it's coming over the body enough, and I need to pull it forward in the frame. I'm not sure, because I wanted to have like a tilt down look to it, but I'm not sure and I haven't figured it out, but the MicroWive is going to happen and nothing's going to stop me, darn it. Aside from the MicroWive saga and all of my crises this week, artistically struggling is natural and I'm just a little bit uninspired right now, but that's okay. So if you like this video, I know I'm a little bit more low energy, I'm sorry about that. If you like this video, like it, dislike if you dislike, subscribe if you would like to see more of my content, or check out the playlist I have linked in the card up above if you would like to vet me as an artist before you actually subscribe. I don't care either way. Comment if you have anything you want to say. I'm always happy to have you. I'm always happy to see your art if you want to tag me in it or share it with me on any social media, because I love to support the people who support me. And I suppose that with all of this being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and bye-bye!